Hello again. I spoke the other day about the way in which the by-election due to be held later this month in Rochdale in the north of England hinges entirely around what is happening in the Middle East. The two candidates most likely to win, George Galloway and the man who was previously standing on behalf of Labour, have both made Gaza the focus of their campaigns. Now the House of Commons is in uproar, and it's possible that the Speaker of the House, Lindsay Hoyle, will be forced out. Again, this is entirely due to what is happening in the Middle East. This is a very odd state of affairs when British politics, both local and national, are wholly occupied with events thousands of miles away in a war in which this country is not involved. Of course, some people would argue that this is a humanitarian disaster which demands action on the part of this country and a declaration of where we stand, that it's a moral issue. I can't help wondering when this idea became an important one in British politics. The civil war in Syria has now been going on for 13 years. Between 250,000 and 500,000 civilians have been killed in the fighting, 10 or 20 times as many as have died in Gaza, and 6 million people have become refugees. 6 million. The fighting is still going on. Turkey are bombing refugee camps in Syria routinely, and nobody cares in the least. Has this appalling war become the focus of a by-election in Britain? Has it caused chaos in the House of Commons? Have people been marching on the streets of London to call for the Syrian government to stop killing civilians? Has it been headline news on the front page of our newspapers? Of course not. And yet Syria is right next door to Israel. Why is it, do you suppose, that should be the case? That Gaza should be so important and cities in Syria don't even count? The city of Homs was shelled to destruction by the Syrian army, and it wasn't even mentioned on the news in this country. The events in Gaza, though, are on the front page most days. Why do you think that Gaza is considered more important than Homs or Haleb, cities which I'm sure most of those watching this video have never even heard of, even though far more civilians were killed in them than in Gaza? What is it which makes Gaza so special that it gets a lot of people so worked up in this country, people who don't care at all about civilian deaths anywhere else in the Middle East? I have my own ideas, but I would be curious to hear what others think. Even the royal family has been drawn into it now, with the Prince of Wales expressing a view on the matter of a ceasefire in Gaza. Did any member of the royal family call for a ceasefire during the siege of Homs? Of course not. The hypocrisy displayed here is simply breathtaking. What about the war in Yemen, which is also in the Middle East? Does anybody care about the 4 million refugees there or the hundreds of thousands killed in the fighting? Between 2015 and 2018, no fewer than 85,000 children are estimated to have starved to death in Yemen because of that war. But again, this wasn't of any interest in Britain. Suddenly, though, fighting in the Middle East and the displacement of civilians is a subject on everybody's mind. Can nobody really think what it is about the war in Gaza which is engaging people's attention in a way that the wars in Syria and Yemen do not?